Reduced cost, wiring simplicity, and relatively straightforward maintenance are a few of the reasons why LIN bus is incorporated into the modern-day automotive system. LIN works on a master-slave basis. The master in most cases will be the body control module or the module responsible for that node. LIN is now seen in many areas of the vehicle, ranging from HVAC, sunroof, window operation, door locks, and many more. So we better get familiar with what it looks like and how we can best diagnose any problems that arise. Scan tool communication to the slave device is done through the gateway. Again, this is generally the body control module or the bus master. If a node or slave goes offline or drops out, the master will know, as it's always communicating with the device. LIN can fail in many ways and remain unnoticed until the feature is needed. It may also set descriptive codes such as shorts, opens, and no communication. If we are presented with a driver's window malfunction, the first step would be to check for any fault codes in the master. In this case, it's the driver's door module. With the scan tool, watch the window switch activity data and see if it corresponds to physical up and down commands. If there was no activity, we would need to remove the door trim and test for supply voltage and ground at the window switch and module. Make sure all ground points are clean and free from any corrosion, paint or rust. If any fault has been identified, it will need to be corrected and retested. But if no fault has been found, we will need to test the LIN circuit itself. When testing the operation of LIN, it's good practice to use a scope. This will reveal any intermittent hiccups and paint a real-time picture. When testing for an open, back probe the LIN circuit terminal at the driver's window switch. Then connect the black lead to chassis ground. With the ignition on or activating the key fob, monitor the scope trace. A good pattern should look like this. If no trace was displayed, move the red sample lead to the driver's door module and back probe the LIN circuit here. If a trace is now seen, this confirms an open between the two connectors. But if no pattern was displayed, turn the ignition off and check terminal tension at both connectors. Ensure no corrosion is present. If this is okay, the fault is in the driver's door module. With an open ruled out and the trace displaying less than 2 volts at the switch, move the red sample lead to the master and check the trace here. But if the trace was still erratic, turn the ignition off and disconnect the master connector, checking for terminal tension and corrosion. If this is okay, the fault must be within the module. To test for a short to ground, place the red sample lead to battery positive and the black lead back probe to the LIN terminal of the slave. Cycle the ignition from off to on while watching the scope. Any voltage reading displayed will indicate a short to ground. To rule out the master or slave, disconnect these components one at a time while watching the trace. If the short disappeared after disconnecting either, then the fault has been localized to that particular component. Perform a continuity test between the LIN circuit and all other circuits in that connector. If continuity isn't seen, we've confirmed a module fault. If any voltage is seen after the components have been disconnected, then the short to ground is within the harness. A short to ground in the LIN bus can cause the system to fail or may cause errors within the circuit. It may be necessary to disconnect each slave in the system to help diagnose the fault. To test for a short to voltage, turn the ignition off and fix the black sample lead to a known ground. Then back probe the LIN circuit at the window switch. Cycle the ignition from off to on while watching the scope. Any constant voltage reading will indicate a short to voltage. To rule out the master or slave, disconnect these components one at a time while watching the trace. If the short to voltage disappeared after disconnecting either, then the fault has been localized to that particular component. Perform a continuity test between the LIN circuit and all other circuits in that connector. If continuity isn't seen, we have confirmed a module fault. If any voltage is seen after the components have been disconnected, then the short to voltage is within the harness. Intermittent faults can be prickly to diagnose at the best of times, but with a scope, the job is made much easier. Sometimes, it may be necessary to wiggle the harness to try and reproduce the fault. This may also mean opening and closing the affected side door, putting stress on the wiring. Inspect the wiring on the inside of the door. Make sure it's free and not contacting any moving parts. Confirm it hasn't been pinched or crushed by the window regulator. If the vehicle has been in an accident, ensure all earth points relating to the LIN circuit haven't been painted and are secure. The key to any successful LIN diagnosis is to understand how that system works and what checks we need to perform on that circuit. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.